Hey, welcome back. Hope you're all well. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining. So today on the bench I have the Sansui Duo, the A550 and the AM/FM tuner T550. These came together as a set and they even kind of lock into each other. There was a cassette deck. I think I told the story before on this. I bought this off of Kijiji for a knockdown price. And I picked it up mainly because I wanted to use the amplifier as a mule, and the tuner came along for the ride, and I decided to take it anyway. Why not? But the tuner does have problems. And I remember testing this tuner back when I first introduced these two, and I've just kind of hooked it back up here so I can refresh my memory as what's going on. Part of the problem is here. I'm halfway up the band, and if I keep going up, there's no stations. Okay. Now, why is there no stations on the top end of the band? If I go to the bottom end of the band, we start getting our stations to come in. So I was down here listening to it just a minute ago, and at the very bottom of the band, I picked up a station, and the call letters were, I can't remember what the call letters were, but the station frequency was 95 something. But I'm tuned below 88. So the local oscillator in this thing is really out the whack. It's shifted from here down to here. And there's stations here that we can't pick up because we can't tune that low. But this is all dead air up here because there's no stations broadcast. So I have a feeling it's going to need alignment to bring that back. And otherwise, the tuner seems to be working good. Like I can pick up stations. And
Yes, thank you so much.
Happy Friday, my friend.
And back at you.
All right, taking a look at traffic. There's an accident at Rabbit Hill Road at 23rd Avenue. That's affecting directions, all directions except westbound. And then they're doing
it's a little bit weak.
the bridge, the southwest leg of the Henday, both west and eastbound. It's a slow go through there, and it's down to one lane. Traffic is for Action Furnace. Action installs new AC with no interest or payments till 2023. Action Furnace, fixed right, or it's free.
99.3, and I'm down at 90.5. Okay, so that's how far out we are. We're out to probably 8 or 9 megahertz here. So I have a feeling it's probably going to be an easy fix. We'll go through and we'll do an alignment just to bring it back. There could be an internal problem that causes this to be so far off tune. Could be a faulty component, but I kind of highly doubt it. I have a feeling maybe somebody was in here tweaking and twiddling and didn't get it right. Let's try AM, because I don't remember if AM worked. I'm definitely going to need an antenna. Let me hook up an antenna and see if AM works. Okay, we're back on. It's kind of cool when it tunes in a station, it turns from red to green. And you've got three bars of signal here. There's definitely something wrong with this. It's not picking up any stations.
Really classic there. But something, right? Maybe Virgin Mary does have some good here. Well, and Mariah.
That is pretty poor. Okay, so we got some work to do on AM as well. All right, let's have a look inside. It's weird. Okay, so what do we got here? It's a nice little tuner. Built down to a price, obviously, but it's not plugged in, so we have power transformer and a courtesy outlet. A little power supply board here with a, looks like a 2SD3013 regulator. No heat sink, of course. It doesn't probably need one. It's just a little bridge rectifier, filter cap, series pass, Zener diode. It's very, very basic. So probably what they're doing is they're regulating the power supply for the tuner. Tuner itself, what's going on here? Let's have a look. Cute little tuning capacitor. I've never seen them tiny like that in the, I guess they are. It doesn't look like anything's been tweaked in here. That doesn't explain why we're so far out. So we got FM tuner business going on here. Looks like AM tuner here. This is oscillator AM. Yeah, it says AM here, FM. And here is probably our IF. This is our AM IF, and there's an AM chip here. It's HA. Oh, what is that? That's an 1197. And here we have an FM board. This is probably our demultiplexer, HA 1196. So we just built it around the chipset. RF indicator. So they got a little IC chip here for the little 3 LED. This is something I don't like. Somebody put grease on the dial string. It's supposed to be dry. Why would they put grease on it? It still works. There's nothing wrong with that, I guess. All right. Let me pull the bottom off too. I can get access to the bottom of the PCB board and have an inspection of that as well. It's quite difficult. Now, how does this work? It does not want to come off. There we go. All right, I got bottom of the PCB board. Looks pretty good and untouched. I'm not a big fan of these connections, interboard connections. They rely on the solder to make the bridge the. And then these crack too, right? They crack and then you get a funky connection and then it stops working. Let me see if I have any documentation on this thing. We're getting a little bit of, you can see right here a little bit of cracked solders around the output jacks. There's cracked solders around the tuning capacitor. And maybe some of these switches too. These switches don't look too good. They're still working, but. Alrighty, I could not find any service data on the T-550. But I did find this. This is for a Sansui tuner T-707, and it's very, very similar. It's almost like they ripped off the schematics from one to the other. Comparison here of this board. This is a T-707, and you can see how the layout matches the tuner in this one. Almost part for part, except they have different part numbers. For example, the C10 here is listed as C25 here. So there's a bit of a difference between the two, but I get the gist of the matter. So what I'm looking for here is the oscillator section. And if I look here, the oscillator section is right here, and it is on this tuned circuit here. This is part of the tuning capacitor, a coil, a couple of trimmer, and 80 picofarad. And this whole thing here determines the oscillation frequency of the oscillator. There's a capacitor here, C27 I believe it is. It's a 10 microfarad at 50 volts. I can see it here, but this one looks damaged. I can see it's got damage to it. It's like it's squashed on top. We'll remove that, have a good look at that one. But aside from that, everything else should be identical. I'm just going to go through and check some values of these capacitors. Sorry. For example, this coil here, 80 picofarad, trimmer capacitor, variable air capacitor, 10 pico. I can read this, 10K, 33 picofarad, 15 picofarad, and 3.9K. This resistor up here is 22, 10K. Yeah, so I'm going to go and confirm all these values for these parts and make sure everything's working. Make sure everything matches what's in here. I'm going to pull this capacitor out and have a look at it. There's got to be a reason why this oscillator is running 8 or 9 megahertz out of where it should be. Unless somebody was playing around with this trimmer, I don't know if that trimmer has that much range of adjustment. That's why I have a feeling there's a bad cap in here or something. But first, let's pull this capacitor out. It's in the power supply for the oscillator, so it's not critical. But I'm going to pull it out and have a good look at it. So here's that cap. This is the one right here. It's tied to ground to the 13 volt supply for this little oscillator. It's just a bypass capacitor for filtering. And you can see, I don't know if you can see how smashed it is. It's not looking healthy. Looks like it got squashed. I tested it. It tests fine. It tests at 9.4 microfarad, and it's got about a 1.8 ohm ESR, which is good. I'm just going to cut this jacket off so you can see what I'm talking about. I think it was just poor quality control on this one. This is a Nichicon from Japan. Come on. Okay, there it is. You see it's all smashed on top and squashed on the bottom. Looks like it got caught between something. But like I said, it tests fine. But I'm going to replace it anyways because this bottom seal is probably compromised. And, you know, it's lasted this long, so we'll replace it. It's only 10 microfarad. Doesn't need to be 50 volts. I'm just going to put it's a 13 volt supply here, so I'm going to put a 16 volt cap in. So this little 15 picofarad cap measures 15. Little 10 picofarad cap is measuring 10 picofarads. 33 picofarads measuring at 33. We've got a 4 picofarad here measuring right around 4.5, 4.7. And finally, 15 picofarad measuring at 15.7 or so. So all the ceramics tested out fine. Alright, I put everything back together and I hooked it up and I started doing an initial test and I got some really weird results. What happens is I'm getting picking up stations on the top end of the band, but the stations are moving. So let's see if we can do this without getting copyright. So I'm up around 108, 106. Oh, now it's not going to do it. It's not going to do it at all now. What's going on here? AM's working. Getting no FM. Now we're getting nothing. But I did pick up a station around 106 and I tuned it in and then it would disappear, and then I'd tune down farther and I'd pick it up again and then it would disappear, and I was chasing that station down the band. So something's drifting in this oscillator really badly. Let's see if we can get some cold spray on it maybe and figure out, maybe it's got a bad transistor. So I did take out all those capacitors and test them. Spray that transistor. See, now I'm back at the top of the band picking up stations. Yeah, it disappeared. Let's try it again. Nope. Can's going empty. Something really flaky in this tuner. Yeah, it's working. Let's feed a signal 108 megahertz. Okay, that's 108. Turn down the... Okay, let's try spraying again. I might have a bad cap that's temperature sensitive. I don't know. Let me try touching it with an iron. Try touching these capacitors one at a time. So I'm going to do C9. This one's C12. C13. Let's try a transistor. C10. C11. then I got C8, the last one. It is buried in here. Yeah. I'm picking it up again. Yeah, we're about 1 megahertz out. So let me try adjusting this coil. Set this to 108. Frequency generator is on 108. Let's see if I can tune this in. Actually, you know what? Let's do it on the bottom of the band first. 88 megahertz. Frequency 88 megahertz. Where are we? There it is. It's a little bit out. Okay, so let's adjust this to bring this in. There it is. Tuned indicators are very weak and dim. I can't see them very good. But that should be tuned in there. Okay, let's go. Let's go 108. There it is. This tuning capacitor was way out, so maybe somebody did tweak with it. Still having troubles picking it out. Try 107 megahertz. We got 107 right here. Problem is I got a bunch of stations right adjacent. There it is. Okay, adjust that to 107. 107. Appears to be working now. I don't understand what happened to throw that so far out. So we got a bad transistor, a bad capacitor. If it returns, I might have to swap some parts around to figure it out. But right now it's working. 107. If I go back to 88. Okay, I'm a bit out again. One adjustment affects the other. Right there. 107. little bit out here.
Four seats to see world class.
Okay. What you do is you just keep going back and forth and tuning each end of the band, 88 megahertz, until you get it right, because one adjustment will affect the other. So let's go back to 88 frequency, 88 megahertz, and we are pretty close. We're still off a little bit. Just keep going. Right there. 107. Still a little bit out. I wonder if that's parts drifting again. Right there. $88. You're right on. Okay. Seems to be working. Just going to leave it at that for now. Not much more I can do for it. I'll test it out and I'll see how it goes. I'll let it sit for a week or so and then come and test it again, see if it's going to misbehave. Okay, so letting you know what I did here is I put this aside. When I get frustrated, sometimes I just put it aside and go work on something else, and then, you know, time passes and I lose interest in it, and 5 months goes by, and then today's the day I bring it back. So yeah, here it is 5 months later. But interestingly enough, let's try this out. I got it hooked up to an amplifier, and I'm tuning around 108 here. There should be a station at 107.9, I think. And there's nothing. Go down the band. 102, haven't heard a station yet. 100, nope. 98, oh, there's our first station. And that one should be up around 107.9, and it's at 90. So obviously it's gone back to its old game again, its old tricks. So right at this point, I think what I want to do is I want to replace that oscillator transistor, because I think that's the source of my troubles here. Give me a minute. I need to hunt up the schematic for this. I had it printed out, but now I think I might have thrown it away, or maybe not. I don't know. I'll have to look through my pile here. Let me dig out the schematic, make sure I get the right transistor, and let's replace that oscillator. I think that might be the cause of all my troubles here. Alright, so I have replaced that transistor. I tested the gain on this one, it's about 115. The gain on my replacement was about 140. Not much of a difference, but maybe it's a difference enough to cause this to misbehave. So let's try this out. Oh. And look at this, I have all my stations on the high end of the band now. Cool. Okay, so that was the problem. And all I touched was that transistor. I didn't touch anything else. It's funny though, it has different gain. I guess I should test it. I should test the gain at different temperatures. Maybe that's the reason why it's... Okay, so let me set this up and then we'll finish this off. All right. Okay, so the signal generator is on. Let's turn it to 88. Turn up the amplitude. Nice, and modulation would be nice. Let's turn this up so we can hear it. Okay, so that's 88 megahertz. And I'm tuned to 88 megahertz. Okay, let's try 107. The dead spot here at 107. Let's try that. 107 megahertz. And there it is. It's pretty much bang on. I'm not going to adjust that. That's working great. Just before I close this up, I'm going to clean this board. I don't think I've cleaned it yet. I've cleaned one spot of it. That was it. It's quite dirty. Okay. All right, looking good. Now I need to hunt up the hardware for this thing. I don't even know where that is.
Et c'est ce que je trouve.
Muting on this isn't the greatest. You notice the dial pointer though, when it tunes the station, it turns green. And then we get a couple bars on our little stereo comes in.
Listen to About Time on
What a good antenna on this thing. You know, rock, it'd be rocking in stations from all over the country. Yeah. Not pleased with the muting on this. If I turn the muting off, it only brings in mono. But the muting seems to...
Winter Getaway, that's not fun.
Doesn't do a good job of muting. But it's pulling in a good signal. Considering what I have for an antenna is just a little piece of wire.
Storage. Shop Canadian, store Canadian.
And absolutely no run.
It goes right to the top of the band now. And we're done. Okay. So that's it for this one. I'm going to close this up and get this video edited and rendered and put up so you guys can see us. Not a big fan of these tuners, but it is a good performer. I got to admit, this tuner is actually, it's a pretty good tuner, considering it's built down to a price. That, you know, the quality, the materials they used is not the best, but it does perform. So I got to hand it that. But not a big tuner guy. Not many people are anymore. Nobody listens to FM, I don't think. Very few people do anyway. If it were my tuner, I'd sell it and I would buy something older. I would get, I love the old tube tuners, and I like how they work. They were built back in the days when the engineers tried to make it as best as they could. And these modern ones are just built on assembly lines, and they're built down to a price. So they're not really great performers, but they are good performers. They do work. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to sell them. But anyways, that's it for this video. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one. Hope you're all well.